Now to President Trump, escalating his campaign against voting by mail with a series of false attacks and threats to withhold federal funding from Michigan and Nevada if they pursue their plans to expand mail-in ballots during the pandemic. Our senior White House correspondent Cecilia Vega tracking the story. And Cecilia, the president's attacking vote by mail because he's worried expanding it will help Democrats.
Yeah, exactly, George. Good morning. He has said explicitly that statewide mail-in voting, quote, doesn't work out well for Republicans. Now, during this pandemic, we're seeing states lean on this mail-in voting as a way to get voters safely to the polls. And with that, President Trump has now reignited his unsubstantiated claims of voter fraud. As he faces new polling showing Joe Biden in the lead, President Trump is now threatening to withhold federal funds from two key battleground states over unfounded accusations of voter fraud.
If people mail in ballots, there's a lot of illegality. They send in ballots that they harvest ballots.
The president ramping up his attacks against mail-in voting, this time targeting Nevada and Michigan, falsely claiming the states acted illegally in their push to vote by mail during the coronavirus pandemic. In a tweet, the president incorrectly said Michigan sent absentee ballots to 7.7 million people, saying this was done illegally and without authorization by a rogue Secretary of State, and he threatened to hold up funding if they want to go down this voter fraud path. He then made a similar threat against Nevada, saying they created a great voter fraud scenario. But the reality? Michigan's Secretary of State sent out ballot applications, not actual ballots, and she tweeted, "Just like my GOP colleagues are doing in Georgia, Iowa, Nebraska, and West Virginia." The president later corrected his error. And it was Nevada's Republican Secretary of State who declared a nearly all-male election primary because of the pandemic. President Trump never specified exactly which funds he would withhold.
Yeah, well, I have very specific funding. You'll be finding out. They'll be finding out very soon if it's necessary. I don't think it's going to be necessary because mail-in ballots are a very dangerous thing.
Democrats questioning whether the president even has the authority to block funding. Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar saying, "Last time I checked, the Constitution gives Congress the power to appropriate money, not you." And while President Trump publicly bashes mail-in voting during his re-election campaign, he himself votes by mail in New York in 2018 and earlier this year in Florida's primary. And now, how's this one for timing? The president heads to Michigan today, where he will visit a Ford plant that now makes ventilators and other personal protective equipment. Now, this plant has a policy requiring everyone wear face masks, and we know that that's something that President Trump has been reluctant to do. He says that he's going to consider wearing one today, George, but it's going to depend on the situation, like how close he might be to other people with social distancing.
We will be watching again. We should emphasize there is no evidence that mail-in voting leads to widespread voter fraud. Cecilia Vega, thanks very much.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.